Okay, perfect. All right, so today we will be talking about back care and safe lifting. I know that every year we go over this and we go over the importance of keeping our back safe, ensuring that we're able to be fully functional at work and at home. So this is a really important topic that kind of gets overlooked a lot, or we forget some pieces of the training. So this will serve as a review. And as always, I love questions. It will kind of be like the same formatting as last time, where I'll ask a couple of like knowledge checks or retention checks. So if you haven't already, go ahead and open up your chat box, and when those retention checks do pop up, go ahead and submit your answers there, and that'll count for participation. Okay. Okay, so the goal for today, what are we going to be learning? What are we going to be reviewing? Why is this important? So today we're learning again about back and spine safety. So we're going to review the anatomy of the spine, the different little parts of it. We won't go too much into detail because there's quite a bit, but I want to give you a general overview of why the back, specifically the spine, is extremely amazing, but it's also it's very delicate. And so when we injure our back, it can really impact us, um, depending on the severity of the injury or the impact to the spine. It can cause long life issues. So this training again will just kind of help us give an understanding to the sensitivity of the spine and also how amazingly strong it is. We're also going to learn about the common causes of back injuries, how to prevent injuries, and some techniques for instance, proper lifting, how to maintain a healthy back outside of work and your personal lives. And I also have a little general safety update for you towards the end. Okay, so I always like to give facts. I gathered these facts according to OSHA, the Labor Bureau of Statistics, and the World Health Organization. So, did you know that one of every 5 related injuries are to the lower back? And looking at the data, this can be anything from picking up a piece of paper, or working on the forklift, or lifting anything from like 10 pounds. So it's really a very broad spectrum of how you can injure your back, specifically your lower back. And that can happen for various reasons. It can happen due to twisting, it can happen due to bending at the hips, not bending your knees. It can happen when you're hyperextending your spine. Many ways that you can lower your lower, sorry, that you can injure your lower back. Another fact is annually there are more than 1 million back-related injuries sustained in the workplace. That is quite a lot. That is a very alarming number. Um, and also it equates to 24% of days missed from work due to back-related injuries. And this can either be an injury that occurred at work or an injury that occurred at home. I also learned during my extensive research that back injuries happen twice as often at home than they do at the workplace. And I have a funny little story. Um, One time I was seeing someone take off their shoes and they were wearing boots. And so when you wear boots, they're laced all the way to the top. And this person has never had back injuries or back pain, and they work out and they were pretty healthy, but something to do with the movement that they were tugging at the boot to remove the boot that caused a back spasm. And I have never seen a person wince so visibly in so much pain, couldn't even take off their shoe afterwards. Like, and this is from taking off your shoe. So it triggered a lower back pain, a lower back muscle spasm. So it can happen literally doing anything. So that's why we have to be aware of how we treat our spine, how we um, move our bodies, and most importantly, how we protect our body so that we don't have any injuries. Okay, so here we're going to look at the brief anatomy of the human spine. As you can see here, it looks like a lot of bones, a lot of just quite a bit of things going on here. So I'm going to break it down for you very easily. The spine has 4 major parts. Your backbone, also known as your vertebrae, has 33 backbones. Fun fact, as you get older in your adult life, you can see here that the sacrum and the coccyx, they fuse together. So it's really honestly amazing. But what ends up happening is that you end up with 24 backbones because of the fuse. And there's a lot more that goes into that, but again, I want to keep it brief. So as you can see here, the cervical has 7 bones in the neck. These are to support your skull. It has a slightly inward, sometimes described as a backward C shape. Let's remember the curvatures because I'll go ahead and reference it later. Then we have something called the thoracic spine, which is 12 bones in the back area. And this has this kind of, again, backward C curvature right here. And then we have the lumbar spine, which is this lower area here, which again, it's for your lower back. And you have a total of 5 bones in your lower back area that curves as a C as well, or backward C. And then you have, again, your sacral and coccygeal bones, which form this, it's like a C, but also it tucks down. So I would say it's like a little S, if that's how you want to call it, if that's what makes you remember it. But essentially, all of these bones protect your spinal cords and all the little nerves that go into your limbs, that go into your organs, that help you move. So any little damage to, hypothetically, your like cervical vertebrae could cause some sort of paralysis, either of the upper extremity or the lower extremity. So that's why we have to be extremely careful. I don't know if you've also heard, but if you ever break your coccyx it's extremely excruciating painful. And there is no way to bandage it, or there's essentially no real treatment for it. So you just have to wait for it to heal. And these certain types of injuries are usually due to falls, slip, trips, and falls. So we always want to be careful with the housekeeping, want to be aware of where we're walking and make sure that our shoes are supportive. So for instance, we want to wear in the rain right now, shoes with grip. And we want to make sure that when we are walking in the rain that we're lifting up our feet so that we don't accidentally slip going down the stairs or going down the curb, because if we land on our little coccyx bone, we can potentially injure it, and that would be very, very painful. On the right hand side here, you have something called discs. I included a photo that has a normal, a healthy disc, and then you have a degenerated disc, bulging disc, a herniated disc, a thinning disc. Um, these discs are really, really important because they help with absorbing the shock and they help with the flexibility of the spine. So if you ever have a herniated disc or a bulging disc, those are extremely, extremely painful injuries that you have to the disc that cause sharp burning pain. And so that typically is caused, some of the causes for this could be lifting heavy or bending at the hips rather than using your legs, a traumatic car accident, sports events. These can all lead to a potential herniated disc if you have an injury. Okay. Ooh, sorry. All right. So now we're going to go into what causes back injuries. Like I mentioned earlier, inappropriate techniques while lifting heavy. So that can be, hypothetically, if I'm lifting 60 pounds and I'm trying to walk from here, from my office, all the way to the car, and I'm hyperextending my back. That's not proper technique. I can potentially hurt my back. Or if I am trying to work fast and I'm twisting my torso and I'm just going really quickly, and in one of those movements, I could potentially strain my back. So that's why we say never twist, always really just move your body, just change your position as you're doing the lift. Another thing is overexertion. So if hypothetically, let's say I'm doing my heavy lift of 60 pounds and I'm trying to walk from here to the car, and I'm doing that constantly for like 10 minutes because I'm I don't know, let's say I'm prepping for an event or something, and I'm not taking any breaks. I'm constantly hyperextending my back. I'm constantly just trying to walk really fast, carrying these 60 pounds of items. That can definitely lead to a back injury. So we have to be cautious. And like we'll learn earlier, like or later on, we always want to ask for help. Always ask for help if you cannot lift it, or if you feel like your back is telling you, like, hey, I need you to take it slow. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Another thing that could lead to a back injury or back strain could be poor posture. I know a lot of us sit at our desk, or a lot of us may stand quite a bit, and so I'm guilty of this. I'll be honest. Sometimes in the morning I'll start off with, okay, my shoulders are aligned with my ears, like my skull is perfect. I'm looking straight head on. My hands are typing perfectly, and then you'll see me at like 12 or when I'm really doing something, and I'm just like, my back is completely hunched. There's no neutral spine. I'm sitting at the edge of my chair. My neck is like hanging on. So definitely don't follow my example. I'm preaching to myself. We need to be aware of our posture. And then when we go home, we're like, oh, why does my back hurt? Why does my shoulder hurt? It's because we're sitting improperly. So we always want to make sure that we're aware, consciously aware of what we're doing with our bodies, because our body will definitely tell us when we're not doing something good. Another thing that may cause back injuries or back strains or uncomfortableness is emotional stress. So, for instance, when our muscles are constantly contracted, or when our muscles are constantly, um, yeah, contracted, when we're just tight, or we're very like, when we're stressed, we essentially experience an increase of cortisol, and then our bodies are just unconsciously, I guess we're not really thinking about it, but we're very tight. We're very like um, unable to really process the emotion, so we store it in our bodies, and therefore that can lead to shoulder pain, that can lead to lower back pain, that can lead to lots of uncomfortable situations within our body. So we always want to make sure that we're releasing our stress, and that we're aware when we are stressed, so that we can, go ahead and take care of that. Like I mentioned earlier, traumatic injuries, either from a car accident, a sports accident when we were younger, a personal accident, or slip, trips, and falls, that can all cause a potential back injury. So um, you may ask, well, how do I know if I have a back injury? Is it just pain? Is it uncomfortableness? So I'm going to share a couple of the symptoms that some people may experience. It is different per person, and always seek medical attention. So for instance, after I'm sitting here hunched over, not following proper posture, you may experience some stiffness. You may experience some decreased range of motion when you first get up. So let's say I'm sitting like that for like 5 hours, and then I get up and I'm like, oh man, like it hurts to stand up. I can't really stand up straight. That's a decreased range of motion. It's temporary for now. You just have to do a quick little stretch, and then you get full flexibility in the spine again. But over prolonged time of being in that position, it does not benefit the body. Um, I always like to note that you have to use it or lose it. It's a horrible concept, but if your body is not, for instance, like if your spine is not used to stretching or used to exercise, at first it will definitely feel very uncomfortable. But once you start to train your body and condition your body, it'll get a little bit more comfortable, and then your body will start to really be receptive to that stretching. And so therefore you're gaining more range of flexibility, more range of motion in your spine. I always want to note that um, right here in this little example, this little pictogram, something that I like to note for the curvatures that I mentioned earlier is you have to keep it close to keep the curves. That neutral spine, that little S shape is really, really important. That is a healthy spine, a healthy back, and that is what we should aim to have to be fully functional with our body. Okay, so we talked about all of the Sorry. We talked about all of the potential causes of a back injury, the symptoms of the back injury. So now we go into how can we prevent a back injury? How can I ensure that my body or my back is going to be safe as as I get older or as I continue to do my work? So we're going to talk about four essential things. That's proper lifting techniques, proper posture, ergonomics, stretching, and exercising. So right here, um, proper lifting techniques is really important when we are moving things, when we are moving items, or when we are using force. Something that I like to note before I go into more information is our power zone. So our power zone, you'll hear me say this quite a bit, is the area close to your body from mid-thigh to mid-chest. So when we lift an item, whether it's 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, we always want to keep all of our all of the items close to our body in our power zone, in our core. And that's because we're the strongest there and we have more ability to move. And obviously, we have visibility as well, which is really important. But that's just a really key thing to remember. So, there's a couple of steps to executing a proper lift. And so, before you even lift anything, you want to make sure that you are aware or you assess how much the object could weigh. You can also ensure that you have a safe pathway and that you have clear visibility of where you're at now and where your destination is. So for instance, I always like to give the example when I'm doing new hire orientations. If I hypothetically am asked to pick up this water bottle, in my head, I assess how much this water bottle weighs. Okay, this is probably like maybe like 5 pounds. Okay, perfect. Can I lift that? I think so. So then I would grab it and then fully commit to the lift and hold this at my core power and then transport the item to wherever it needs to be dropped off. Um, it's just an easy demonstration of um, the power zone lift and the importance of it. Um, Another thing, when you're actually going to go and perform the lift, you want to make sure that, again, your back is in that neutral S curvature position, that you get as close to the load as you possibly can, that your feet are shoulder width apart. Fully commit to the lift means that you're going to grab the item with your whole hands, lift it up using your legs and hip muscles, and then you're going to carry the item, the box, whatever it may be, the bag, close to your abs, close to your core, and then walk steadily, carefully towards wherever you need to drop it off. If you can avoid lifting something heavy, please do so. So for instance, we can use a dolly, a cart, a forklift, a pallet jack, if you are trained in using those electric moving equipments. So I like to emphasize never, ever, ever lift or transport an item when there are debris, obstacles, or unsafe stairs. This just goes back to the general idea of housekeeping. Make sure that if you are going to lift something that they're not, you have a clear pathway and you're able to see where you're going. So never pack up items so high up that you can't see or you can't have visuals of who's around you or what is around you. Again, continued. So after, let's say hypothetically, you have to lift an awkward load from, oh, I'm sorry, this photo got kind of um, fuzzy, but let's say you have to lift a load from out of a trunk. Again, you want to follow the same procedures as before, but use the bumper as support to do your lift and never lift at the hips, like never bend at the hips, excuse me, but lift with your legs. Again, we have a policy at RMA where we do team lifting. And are we all pretty familiar with that? I hope so, but team lifting is essentially when if it's too heavy for you or you are not sure that you can fully lift that item, you ask for help and then you work with the other person, you communicate, sorry about that. You communicate with the other person, hey, we're gonna lift this to this location, you get that part, I get this part, etc., etc. And then we're going to go into proper posture and ergonomics. It's really important, again, to prevent back injuries or back discomfort, that we are aware of our slouching and other awkward positions. We want to make sure that our back is in a neutral spine when we're sitting at our desk in our office chair, making sure that all of our legs, our elbows are at a 90-degree angle, and that our monitor screens are straight visuals. We're not having to tilt our heads or look down for multiple hours of the day. So just quite straight in front of you. I always like to note that your workspace needs to conform to your body and not the other way around. So if hypothetically you have a standing desk, make sure that you're using it at the proper height and that, again, that visual of the monitor is straight and you don't have to tilt your head. I also like to note that if you have items that you frequently use, that you're not having to reach over your desk, extending your shoulder, extending your back to grab it, but that you have it at hands reach. Same thing goes for if you are storing, let's say, documents or any materials that you use on a daily basis, that you're storing it on the floor or in that power zone rather than really, really high up where you have to extend on your tippy toes and lift it and hope for the best. So we want to avoid that. Okay, so here we go with our knowledge check. The first question is, the power zone is the area close to your body from your mid-shin to your mid-chest. Is that A, true, or B, false? Okay, and then our second question, I'll review it in just a minute. Our second question is, you can lower your risk of back injuries by placing frequently used items within reach. Is that A, true, or B, false? Okay, so yes, thank you to everyone who responded. Um, the number one, the power zone, that is false. Like I mentioned earlier, it's from mid-thigh to mid-chest. I think everyone got that one, so I thank you. And then you can lower your risk of back injuries, like I just mentioned. It's true by having everything that you use frequently at hand's reach and by not having to grab something from the highest shelf and be on your tippy toes, and no, we want to avoid that. So thank you, everyone did very, very well. Okay, and so finally, if you have never had back issues, if you have a healthy spine, how can you maintain that and how can you ensure that you potentially don't have any back injuries? So I have quite a few suggestions. So we have staying hydrated, believe it or not, stretching, again, that posture awareness, exercise, and then this one's interesting, but consider sleeping positions. So I'll go over it. Hydration is really, really important because it keeps the disc in the spine spongy. So it helps them to, again, absorb that shock and keep that flexibility in the spine. So like the doctors always say, hydration is your best friend. Water, 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 water. And as we see here, there's another reason how hydration is beneficial to our body. Stretching, if you've never stretched before, that's okay, you can start, but just begin slowly. I gave some examples here, and these little stretching routines take about 2 minutes. It has the little repetition right here on the little photo, but it's very, very simple. So it'd be like hand stretches, getting up, moving our back, just getting water after sitting for a couple of hours, or getting up and just shrugging our shoulders, moving our heads, things in that manner. And again, I'm going to stress it, but posture awareness. Ensure that if you are slouching or that if you are tilting your head or maybe you're typing like this, that we're just aware of that and we correct it. And that's just it's a habit that we have, so it may take constant reminders. And then again, exercise. So maybe walking, if you're into lifting, swimming, any physical movement would help strengthen your back. As you sleep, this one is interesting. But as you sleep, if let's say hypothetically you're a stomach sleeper, when you sleep on your stomach, there's a lot of pressure on your lower back. So a lot of doctors, a lot of therapists, physical therapists recommend for you not to sleep on your stomach, to switch over to your side and then use pillows to help with support for your lower back. So maybe consider your sleeping positions. And if you're a stomach sleeper, I believe there's like a pillow that they're created to help alleviate that pressure on the lower back. Okay, so we have finished with the back care portion, and now I'm just going to go into general safety updates. Please feel free to ask questions or give input. But essentially, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for their continued partnership. Thank you for all of the reporting that is done, for the inspections. I did want to give an update on the 90 days safe. Today marks day 59, so we're kind of almost there. We're pretty hopeful. Together we can totally do it. And another thing that I wanted to mention is Asana is up and running. I have not had any issues, so you can now submit all of your inspections and safety reports on there without having any issues. As for Evade, I just wanted to give a quick update. So Evade has resumed at some locations for level 2, and I will be connecting with specific managers and supervisors for the level 1 training that's coming up in the spring. So look forward to that. I also wanted to mention that we have here in Ventura County something called the Corporate Games. We have been a part of it in the past as an organization. And so essentially what it is a lot of the organizations and businesses in the Ventura County come together and they compete against one another in sports. Yeah, and like physical sports, it could be volleyball, basketball, golf, surfing, just a whole array of different events. And so essentially, I wanted to open that up to anybody that is interested in joining us for these events. It is primarily in the Ventura County area. It is a voluntary participation, but the games are really fun. It's also really nice to make new friends from different locations. So I highly encourage you to come on out if you can. It starts March 23rd all the way through May 4th. And if you are interested, you can send me an email separately and I'll give you more info. But that is all I have for you today. Do I have any questions? Any comments?
Thank you, Kalina.
Thank you. Sorry I started to talk a little faster, but I was running out of time. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you, Kalina.
I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday and a good rainy Tuesday, but be safe and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Kalina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great
Take
Bye,
care.
day.
everyone.
You guys have a good day.
You guys have a good
Bye.
one.
Bye.